from Chesapeake, Virginia. Question for us is, when doing a 90-day run, how did your days look like, or would your days look like? Okay,
during the 90-day run.
During the 90 days. So I guess we're
saying DMA.
Yeah.
DMO.
What's yeah.
I think that you when I go on my 90-day runs, it did change it from where I am in my life. I think some people are involved in secret, and maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays they might have they might work late shifts or whatever. But the key is whatever time you have, you put into it. I mean, I remember when I got involved in network marketing, when I got involved in the direct sales industry, is I would get out of school like at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and then I had lacrosse practice at like 5, so I had an hour there to talk to people, and I would go straight home because we didn't have cell phones back then, and I would just start paging people and just calling people on my list.
Page them,
beep them, beep them on the beeper. And then after that was over, I'd go to lacrosse practice, and then after lacrosse practice, I would do the same thing. And it's more about, I didn't eat food because I was trying to really enjoy it. I was eating food to sustain life. That was the only time I would ever eat. It was just run. Right. So I didn't have a lot of time though. So I think a lot of people, might use that as an excuse, but for me, that was my motivation. I didn't want to not have time. I mean, that's probably an asset that I'm going to have in life is time. So I wanted to work hard so I could expedite the process of success. Because the way I looked at it is, it's like a deck of cards. There's 4 aces in there. How fast can you flip those cards over? And I was just looking for the people, that wanted to get started. That's it. And it was the, hey, catch me if you can attitude. Look, we're going to do this. And I would just bring people all day long. And then, now my 90-day run, after being involved in the business full time, it's a little bit different, and I mean, I know we've got new people on the call, so on the webinar, so I don't want to, scare anybody, but I mean, to me, it was 8 to fame. I mean, that was literally how we did it, is that's how we built, the industry was, we go on a 9-day run, going to a convention, it was 8 to fame, and it was just like, give it everything that you got. I mean, and it was, at that time in my life, I didn't have kids, so it's a little bit, it was different back in those days, but it's still the same thing, is that you look, whatever time that you do have that you can allot, guess what? Get committed. I see a lot of people waste time, and that's something that frightens me. It's like, the scariest thing to me is not making a mistake. It's not messing up. I don't mind messing up. What scares me is wasting time. That is the scariest thing you can waste. I mean, wasting money is not as big as wasting time, because you can't get that other, you can't get time back. So I think the key is having that respect for time and saying, hey, look, you know what? We got to do this right now. And it's having that mindset, having that clear-cut picture, and filling your calendar up with money-making activities. My mentor told me, he says, Tim, he said, majors don't major minors. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? He goes, major time and minor time, you got to know the difference. I said, well, what's the difference? He says, major time is in the presence of prospects. Everything else is minor time. Driving to prospect, minor time, right? Scheduling your plan, minor time. All that stuff's minor time. Major time in the presence of prospects. So I learned how to kind of tip the scales. A lot of times people are, when they get involved in the industry, is ready, aim, and they don't want to fire.
Right.
For me, I was more fired up about firing than I was about aiming. They're like, oh, the target's over there. I'm like, where's it at, right? So I think the biggest thing that I would try to tell, an up-and-coming leader, or someone getting started in the business, is be afraid not to talk to someone. Be afraid not to introduce the opportunity to someone. Be afraid not to share this with someone, because if not, I mean, they're hungry for this. I mean, it could alter their lives forever. So don't be caught up in.
So basically, do everything you possibly can, and do in front of prospects, new people, nonstop, and all the time. Whatever time you have allocated to the business, and try to stretch that as much as possible, nonstop for 90 days.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, just get in front of people.
Jamel Butler, awesome question, buddy. Thank you.